What does a successful season look like for the Toronto Raptors in the 2025-2026 season? Spoiler alert, I'm not going to say stuff like, oh, we need to win the championship right now or we need to tank aggressively one more year. Nah, this video isn't going to be about stuff like that. What I am going to talk about is realistic expectations that we need to set for this coming season because compared to past seasons, this season is going to have a little bit different expectations. Yo, what is up, Raptors Updates Nation? Hope you guys are having a great day. Before we start, I just wanted to do a quick recap of the 2024-2025 season for the Raptors. Unfortunately, it was another losing season for the Raptors. They finished with a 30-52 record, which got them the 11th seed in the East. However, the biggest thing from that season was the Raptors trading for All-Star Brandon Ingram. Sadly, however, because of an ankle injury, Brandon Ingram wasn't able to play at all during the season. Then the season finished, the Raptors had the ninth pick, and they used the ninth pick to draft Colin Murray Boyles. During the offseason, we signed the Georgian Beast, Sandro Mamukelashvili. And then we had some other moves like converting AJ Lawson's contract to a standard deal, extending Jakob Poeltl, and bringing back Garrett Temple. The biggest and most shocking thing that happened during the offseason was the dismissal of Masai Ujiri by the MLSE. MLSE president and CEO Keith Kelly made his decision by saying, quote, change is inevitable. Sometimes getting in front of it is necessary. We just seized the opportunity at this particular time with where we are in the evolution of the rebuild. Unquote. So the goal for Pelly and the MLSC is that whoever replaces Masai is quote a prominent, successful business leader. I'm not going to talk about in this video who should replace Masai. That's another conversation for another day. But the goal for today's video is more so focused on the team itself. This season isn't about rebuilding anymore. It's about turning the corner now. Now that we're done with the recap, let's talk about what a successful season looks like. Now, the first thing that will make this season a successful season for Toronto is they got to make the playoffs. They have to make the playoffs. This isn't something I'm saying. This is something the players themselves want, like which we'll talk about later. We saw in the playoffs, Tatum, Halliburton, Dame, like they all got injured and they are out for a pretty long time. With those three guys being out, there's this sense that the East has become more wide open this season. I'm just going to give you guys a quick breakdown of how I think the East is going to look next year. The top two spots in the East next season, in my opinion, it should probably go to New York and Cleveland. I think the next three spots probably go to the Magic, Pistons, and Hawks, which leaves us with the sixth, seventh, and eighth seeds. I have five teams who I think will fight for those final three spots. I think it's the Bucks, Celtics, Heat, Pacers, and the Raptors. The thing about those four other teams is that like Milwaukee lost Damian Lillard, Boston lost Jason Tatum, Miami lost Jimmy Butler, and Indiana they lost Tyrese Halliburton. The Raptors they got Brandon Ingram, who by the time the season starts will be healthy and ready to go. Obviously, injuries and stuff can affect these outcomes, but as long as the Raptors are healthy, they have a really good chance of making the playoffs. I I feel very confident that they will make the playoffs. The second factor that will determine whether or not this season was a success or not is health and chemistry. The chemistry stuff, I'm not too worried about, honestly. I feel like the stuff they do off the court when they go to the games together or when they go shopping or even after every win, they have that win the day chain. I feel like stuff like that builds the off court chemistry, which in turn builds the on court chemistry. So if they continue stuff like that, which probably they will, I think the chemistry stuff should be good. So I'm not too worried about it. On the flip side, what I'm actually worried about is the injuries. Not so fun fact is that last season, six key rotational players missed over 140 games. That's not even including Brandon Ingram himself, who unfortunately missed 64 games because of the ankle injury. Can injuries be prevented? Potentially. Were some of those DNPs last season partly because the Raptors were trying to tank? Probably. My goal for this season is that hopefully the guys, all of them, they play around at least 65 to 70 games. If they play more, even better. But at the minimum, I hope they play around that 65, 70 game mark. A reference, when Kawhi Leonard played with Toronto, he played 60 regular season games. Hopefully, the guys have a healthy season, especially when the goal is to make the playoffs. And then the third factor, which is probably the most important factor for me, at least, is that they need to set the expectations clear early in the season. For multiple seasons, the team didn't really know if they should tank, if they should make a playoff push. And that resulted in some like questionable mid-season trades, the draft odds getting lowered, and even in one season that we completely lost a lottery pick. The good news is, based on what the players said during the exit interviews, is that they really, really want to make a playoff push this season. If that's the case, honestly, set that goal. Set that goal that we want to make the playoffs this season, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we make the playoffs again. Once you have that goal in mind, then the front office, by the time it's the trade deadline or whatever, then they can decide like whether or not what moves we should do to help make our playoff push. Or, God forbid, injuries and stuff happen, and then you got to decide, oh, maybe this is the season to tank. Then you make moves based on that. Like, I don't want it to be like a flip flop type situation and then resulting in the team being in no man's land. Like, that's the worst possible thing. That's probably the biggest failure this could happen to the team. Just to wrap it up, the 2025-2026 season for the Toronto Raptors, it isn't about being a championship or tanking season. It's about taking that next step for another memorable era. With a young and retooled core, this is the beginning of a new era for a new Toronto. If they stay healthy, if they compete hard, and if they establish a sustainable winning identity, and that to me will define a successful season for this team. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What does a successful season look like for you guys? Also, let me know what player you guys are looking forward to the most this coming season. I'll see you guys in the next one.